another day of the week. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Chasing That Paper, presented by VegasInsider.com. And oh, baby, we got a big one for you today. Coming in hot, too. A streak of 6 straight profitable programs for your boy here. So we're going to try to keep that rolling today. My 4 best bets for Major League Baseball. I have a play for every single playoff game here today, and I have a very special guest joining me as well. Evan Abrams from the Action Network will be with me shortly. If you're into NFL trends, you're going to want to stick around for this. He's got some great nuggets for us here for Week 6. But before I get into the picks here, guys, I got to tell you, so I was last with you guys on Friday. I was off yesterday for Canadian Thanksgiving, or as it's known up here, Thanksgiving. Since then, I've become a very depressed sports fan. Take the betting out of it, put my fandom into it. I'm a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays, as you know a lot about. That team, over the weekend, they had the most disgraceful loss, the most embarrassing loss in team history. So that was a hard one. And now the Miami Dolphins have absolutely, completely fallen off of a cliff again after that incredible start to the season. And I know Dolphins fans, we have some excuses built in. Gave up 40 points to the Jets, guys. So the Dolphins, it's still a long way to go. They got to get back on track, though. So let's put the dark days behind me. Look forward to some sunny days here. Starting off in Major League Baseball with the playoffs. Let's get right into that action. The action gets going in a matter of hours here with the Phillies and the Braves. So we'll look at that game first. My best bet for it, Phillies versus Braves in Atlanta. I'm going to take Max Fried to go over 4.5 strikeouts. A little juicy, minus 155. I do think it is worth it, though. Let's get right into it. He has topped this number 4.5 in 8 of his last 11 starts. 6 times during that span, he had at least 6 strikeouts. Great success versus the Phillies this season. 25 strikeouts in 4 starts against Philadelphia. 2 separate games with 8 strikeouts in the second half. And lots of whiffs for the Phillies versus left-handed pitching. They have the second highest strikeout percentage versus lefties since the start of the season. So we'll take Fried to go over 4.5. Next up, we go deep down into the heart of Texas, where the Seattle Mariners are in town. Another pitcher prop. It's a prop-heavy show today. We're going to take Logan Gilbert under 2.5 earned runs, coming in at minus 145. So Gilbert comes into the playoffs in absolutely incredible form here. 2 or fewer earned runs in 7 of his last 8 starts, a 2.28 ERA in the span. And pretty good numbers versus the Astros this season, a 2.52 ERA in 4 starts, just 1 home run allowed, 2 or fewer earned runs in 3 of those 4 starts. And big question here for a lot of these teams coming off a bye is, will the hitters be a little rusty? So how will the Houston hitters look here? They haven't played since last Wednesday. These guys aren't accustomed to long stretches of inactivity during the regular season. So maybe their timing will be off a little bit, and maybe that will help us with our bets. So we'll take Gilbert under 2.5 earned runs. Next up, we get into the evening games. And the Yankees playing host to the Guardians. The pitcher I'm targeting is Garrett Cole, and it's not an episode of Chasing That Paper without a walk prop. We're going to take Garrett Cole over 1.5 walks, coming in at minus 110. So it might surprise you to hear that Cole has had at least 2 walks in 7 of his last 10 starts. This guy's had major control issues in the playoffs. He's had 2 or more walks in 3 of 4 playoff starts as a Yankee. In one of his last starts as an Astro in the World Series against the Nationals, he had quite a few as well. And he once had 5 in a start versus the Astros, or as an Astro versus the Yankees, ironically enough. And it is worth noting that he had 3 walks in his most recent start versus the Guardians, who have great plate discipline, the lowest strikeout percentage in baseball since September 1st. So they're going to make this guy work tonight. No easy outs versus the Guardians. And we're going to wrap things up out on the West Coast, the Padres in LA to take on the Dodgers. I'm going to take the Dodgers' first 5 run line, minus 135. Let's take the bullpens out of this one. So we have a major mismatch on the man here tonight. Mike Clevenger on the man for the Padres. And this guy's getting absolutely obliterated by the Dodgers this season. Teams have 4, 5, and 5 earned runs against them. He's much worse on the road, where he has a 5.46 ERA this season, an 11.25 ERA at Dodger Stadium, by the way. And Julio Urias on the bump here for the Dodgers. Check out what this guy's done lately. He has an ERA in the first 5 innings of 1.15 over his last 11 starts. He was great versus the Padres this season, a 1.50 ERA in 4 appearances, 1 or fewer earned runs in 10 of 14 starts at home for Julio Urias. So we'll hope that those Dodgers bats aren't rusty in that one. So there you have it. 4 picks in about 4 minutes for Major League Baseball. So if you're looking to tail any of these picks, or for some reason, if you're looking to fade them, how dare you? But the choice, quite simply, is yours. I recommend placing these bets over at BetMGM. Let me tell you a little bit about them. You can kick off the pro football season with the king of sportsbooks. Sign up with BetMGM using bonus code VIBONUS, and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. That's VI bonus, all one word, no spaces, and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. You must be 21 or older. BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Yes, sir. All right. All right. Now it is time. Very special guest joining me. My guy, Evan Abrams. He works over at the Action Network, media and research director for them. You can follow him on Twitter at Evan H. Abrams. Evan, welcome to the program. So, Evan, anyone who follows me or has been following me on Twitter for, the past couple of years knows that I am a maniac when it comes to trends, whether it be for the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, even the NHL. I absolutely love them. I can't get enough of them. And if you don't know who Evan is, he might be the best guy in the business at breaking down these trends. He does a weekly article for the NFL where he goes through each and every single matchup and gives you some great nuggets. So, Evan, first of all, welcome to the program. Second of all, let's get right into it. So, taking a look at the league from a league-wide perspective, what is going on with 5 weeks behind us so far?
First of all, Joe, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Sorry about the Blue Jays, but let's kind of move forward here. I think the first thing we need to hit on is underdogs. And it's honestly been garbage. If you've been wanting to bet right now, you've been wanting to back garbage. You've wanting to back the worst. Underdogs this year, 48, 31, and 1 against the spread. It's been really incredible. It's one of the best years going forward. And honestly, if you look back over the last few years, since 2019, through 5 weeks, underdogs are 50 games above 500. So underdogs have just been an incredible back, especially early in the season. And let's flip it around for a second. Let's talk about favorites of a touchdown or more, Joe. Like last night with the Chiefs and the Raiders. Those favorites of a touchdown or more are 10-4-1 straight up. So far, so good. But let's look at against the spread. They are 4-11 this year. So if you look just through 5 games over the last 20 years from our Bet Labs database, that is the least profitable start for touchdown favorites. So what we've seen so far from underdogs in this situation is just incredible. And the one thing I do have to say, Joe, is look at the top of the league. I think we don't have incredible teams. I think we don't have, dominant forces like maybe Buffalo. But aside from that, from what you've seen, I think the league is, we're seeing some parity and it's showing up in the numbers. So right now, between underdogs and favorites, to me, that's really the biggest start to me.
Yeah, a lot of big dogs in Week 5. The Falcons, the Bears, the Texans. All of them cashing in for their backers, right? So, Evan, what are some of the hottest bets we're seeing here through 5 weeks this season?
Sure. I mean, listen, if we don't start with the Falcons, some people I know from Atlanta are going to start with me. So they're 5-0 against the spread. And here's really the nugget that you need to know. The Falcons are 5-0 against the spread, but they haven't been winning. They're under 500. Based on all the research that I've seen, I've gone back 40 years. I can't find a single team 5-0 against the spread who's been under 500 straight up at that time. So this is really something that we just haven't seen across the league. And then when you look at this week, we see if they can cover again. But this is a team that's not winning under Marcus Mariota and also not playing good with offense and also injuries, right? No Cordell Patterson, so some issues there. So that's the one thing with the Falcons. The other note, and this is just kind of incredible, using our Action Labs data for ticket percentages, there have only been 2 teams that have been public sides in all 5 games this year. One is the Chiefs. Okay, got it, cool. The second, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So basically, bettors have seen Jacksonville and week after week after week keep showing up. For what it's worth, both teams are 2-3 against the spread, which kind of says to what's going on with the public sides as well, which are like 17 games under 500 so far. So some struggles there, Joe.
Yeah, the Jaguars all of a sudden looking like the Jaguars again after losing at home to the Texans as a 7-point favorite. And you talk about the Falcons sneaking right in that back door again this week versus the Bucs, right? So one team, Evan, that I was very much down on coming into the season, and they've proven me right so far, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, they're a perennial playoff contender. That doesn't look to be the case this season, and they once again find themselves in a rare position of being a big underdog this week versus Tampa Bay, and this is especially rare for them at home. So how have they performed historically in this situation?
It's just incredible, right? Like, you and I look at the lines, we look at the spreads, we analyze it as soon as they come out, and the first thing that shows up is like, we're just not used to seeing Pittsburgh that big of an underdog. You see a plus number of over a touchdown, and you say to yourself, well, that probably hasn't happened in a while. But let's look at just home underdogs for Pittsburgh, okay? At 8 or 8.5, it would be the second largest home dog for Pittsburgh in the last 40 years. The other time they've been a larger dog, they were +9 in 1989 against the Vikings. They did win. So, I mean, to me, that's an interesting spot. But I think the other thing you want to look at, again, is performance, which you mentioned. And, different quarterbacks for different folks, right? This isn't Big Ben. Yep. This is Kenny Pickett. But let's look at some historical data. As home underdogs in the last 20 years, 15-9 straight up for Pittsburgh, 17-4-3 against the spread. So, we've always talked about Mike Tomlin as a rah-rah. This is something Stuckey says all the time on the Action Network, like play up to Tomlin, but when he's the favorite, play away. And to me, that's probably the way to go. Now, I can't leave a Steelers segment without flipping it around. Brady is coming to town this week, and he has had a share of games against the Steelers. 12-3 straight up, 11-4 against the spread. One of the best teams he's faced. So, there is some history there, but different teams.
Yeah, I think the Bucs are going to be a very popular teaser play this week as long as that number stays inside of 9, right? Okay, so everyone takes a different approach to their handicapping. I look at a little bit of everything, of course, trends, stats, game situation. One of the more unique game situations we see a handful of times a year is teams coming off a game in London. You're traveling to a different continent, different time zone, maybe messing with the body clock a little bit. So 2 of the teams in that situation here coming off the London game, the Packers and the Giants. So any unique angles for either fading or supporting teams in that spot?
Yeah, this is really interesting. And the one thing I do have to say, tough flight for Green Bay, right? Like, I wouldn't have wanted to sit next to Rodgers on that flight. So that's one thing. The second thing, I've got to give all the credit here to my colleague, Brandon Anderson. This is a great piece of information that he found, and I'm going to read this verbatim. Only 7 teams in NFL history have returned home from Europe without a bye week. Every one of those teams were tied or trailing in the fourth quarter the following week. And a little bit of an actionable tale, opponent team totals are 6-1 to the over. So if you think about like Justin Fields last week, right? Like rolling downfield against Minnesota, defense looking a little tired. Not that Minnesota's run defense is really great anyway, but he was kind of moving down the field a bit differently than we're used to seeing him. So honestly, it's something I'm looking for. Those trips are long. The preparation is short. And I do think there could be a minor edge there. So something to look at, Joel.
Yeah, I think that Packers defense all of a sudden looking a little overrated, if you ask me. I know, The Packers fan, they're great at not overreacting. Like the Cowboys fans, complete opposite. The sky is falling when something bad happens. But, they traded Devontae Adams, and a lot of Packers fans excused that and said, well, we got one of the best defenses in the NFL. All of a sudden, I don't know about that. Okay, so that is it from Evan today. We're going to make sure to have him back plenty of times throughout the regular season. Evan, where can viewers find you, and what can they look forward to from you this week?
Sure. So Evan H. Abrams on Twitter is just the easiest way to find me. Any questions on stats or whatever, I'm always around. And my big article, which comes up on Action Network, which is basically a primer for the upcoming week. It'll be live, by tonight on the site. Pretty image from Matt Romkey, our graphic designer. But just a lot of cool stuff in there. And I'm adding some league-wide trends that Joe and O have been talking about this week in terms of, yards per play, teasers, stuff like that. So be on the lookout.
Absolutely. Some actionable betting information from Evan. So, Evan, we thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be sure to check in with you later on here during the regular season.
See you later, Joe. Enjoy.
Awesome. All right. Some great stuff from Evan there that I'm absolutely going to apply to some of my bets here in Week 6. Guys, if you love what we do here at Vegas Insider, you're going to want to check out the brand new Vegas Insider app. We've got up-to-date, easy-to-navigate odds for every major sport. We have all our latest shows, best bet videos, and podcast props, trends, futures, news, all on the Vegas Insider app. Download the Vegas Insider app right now on Apple and Android. Bet better with the Vegas Insider app. Great stuff from Evan there. Some people don't like trends. I view them as an excellent starting point for a handicap. I always like to back up trends with stats, and often bring things together for the best possible handicap when you do it that way, in my opinion. Okay, guys. Tito, going a little crazy there with the sound effects today. Okay, guys, now it is time to get into the viewer pick segment of the program. Picks from the CTP crew. What do we got, Tito? All right, Kowloon City. He is looking ahead here to Sunday's NFL action. Atlanta worth a shot at +5.5. Even better in a tease. Yeah, I don't mind that. Undefeated ATS this season. Defense has been above average. More of a fade of the Niners here. Mosley ACL. Ward hand. Bosa groin. Gould is out. Likes Atlanta to keep it close. Maybe even win outright. Tease with the Commanders or the Jags. I don't know about the Commanders. I mean, they are playing the Bears. I do like the Jags on a tease, though. Get them up to +8.5. Absolutely. What do we got, Tito? Big Bobby Bull. He's been checking in with some picks here for us. He's on a Cal, the Thrill, Quantrill. Over 1.5 walks. I love a walk prop. -110. He thinks it's a good play. Not a great command guy. Doesn't strike out a ton. And the Yankees are patient. He might walk Judge over 1.5 times. That's true. And in this matchup earlier this year, Quantrill had 3 walks versus the Yankees. I'll be interested to see how the Yankees come out here in this series. They got the weight of the world on their shoulders. A lot of pressure on them. So that'll be interesting. And we'll wrap things up with this guy, Tommy Freeze Pops, host of the Tom and Tom podcast here on Vegas Insider. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. He's on the Dodgers run line tonight, Game 1 versus the Fathers at Chavez Ravine. Dodgers have been a run line beast all season long. This bet has a server me. I think he means has served me throughout the season. Let's ride this trend throughout October. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, I like the pitching matchup. Major pitching edge for the Dodgers. But guys, I gotta ask you, when you're going to be submitting picks for the show here, make sure you edit your tweets there for us and check on the grammar and whatnot. This is big leagues here, youtube.com, guys. So thank you for everyone for submitting your picks, and hopefully you have a couple winners there tonight, guys. It is now time for our Handicapper Heat Check presented by VegasInsider.com, your home for the best expert picks in the business since 1997. Today we recognize Kyle Hunter, who can be found on Twitter at Kyle Hunter Picks. Kyle, Hunter continues his impressive run of winning 5 of 6 MLB selections. Save $10 on Kyle's MLB Playoffs top play by clicking on the link in the description below. The $10 discount will be applied during checkout. That's your handicapper heat check. Stay hot, betters. There we go, man. In and out today. And I got to talk to Tito about the sound effects. He's going a little too crazy with the Ric Flair. He's probably going to drop it here any second again. Okay, so big week for chasing that paper here, of course, coming up tomorrow. It's going to be our big college football show with Devin Walker. Ian will be back with me on Thursday. Ian will be back with me on Friday. Congratulations to Ian. He hit on that Raiders pick last night. And Jacobs over on his rushing yard. So good looks by Ian there. Yesterday, I'm sure we'll have some more for week 6. Down to the wire with Kevin Rogers tonight at 6 Eastern right here on the Vegas Insider YouTube page. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, give a like, hit the subscribe. Major League Baseball gets going here, hour and a half. Guys, good luck with your bets today, unless you are fading me. And as always, keep chasing that paper. Woo!